Hello and welcome back. So, what if I told you that the very things you were told are weaknesses are actually your greatest strengths as an ADHD entrepreneur? That the ADHD brain that you've been fighting against is actually perfectly designed for building a business, but not necessarily designed for being an employee. Sounds too good to be true, right? But here's the thing. The entrepreneurial world actually needs the way your brain works. And today I'm going to share with you exactly why. So hi again, if you guys don't know me, I'm Sennhenn-Campbell and I'm an ADHD coach, and I help ADHD entrepreneurs clarify their goals and actually get results by figuring out what they actually want to do. Look, I get it. You've probably spent years hearing about all the ways your brain is wrong and broken, and maybe you've been told you're too scattered, too impulsive, or that you can't stick with anything long enough to succeed. But what if those same traits that make traditional employment challenging are actually perfect for entrepreneurship? And that's exactly what I want to explore today. So let's start with hyperfocus, right? So that incredible ability to dive so deep into something that's interesting to us that time just seems to disappear, right? In school or traditional jobs, this probably got us into trouble, did me. Why can't you just focus on the boring stuff like everybody else, like math? And I know some people love math, but I kind of got to a place where I liked math in college when I was taking Adderall because I could hyper focus on it. But other times when it got too far above me, I just couldn't get into math. But I understand how some people love math. So anyway, but they say, why can't you just focus on boring stuff like everybody else? But in entrepreneurship, hyper-focus is our superpower. It truly is. When you're deeply passionate about having to solve a problem, you can work with intensity and dedication that others simply can't match because it's so interesting to you. The trick isn't fighting against your hyper-focus. It's designing your business around it. And what if you structured your week to have dedicated deep work days where you could fully leverage this ability, and then actually schedule certain days for things that you don't really like to do, but you can get them out of the way, but you stagger those days. So you have a really, really fun, hyper-focused day. And then you have a day where you're probably not going to do as much, but you structure it in a way where you don't have to get as much done because it's the boring stuff, the mundane stuff that you don't really want to do. So let's talk about the ADHD's brain's natural innovative thinking. Research has shown that people with ADHD excel at divergent thinking, the ability to generate multiple ideas and solutions, right? We think so fast and we have so many different ideas at one time, but we have to find a way to kind of channel that stuff, or else we're just going to get nowhere. We're just going to keep, firing off everywhere. But where others see a straight line from A to B, your brain naturally explores past C, D, and E and creates options that no one else would even have considered. And in a world where businesses need to constantly adapt and evolve, this gives you a natural. Then there's risk tolerance, right? So ADHD brains are naturally wired, right? With lower sensitivity to risk and a higher reward-seeking behavior. So while this needs to be balanced, it does. Of course, entrepreneurship is a heavy, high-risk taking thing. So where others might be paralyzed by fear of failure, you're more than likely to take that leap of faith that great businesses require. And let's face it, that's the only reason I've been so my desire and my obsession would actually overrode my fear. I literally just canceled it out at the times that and there was fear that would creep up from time to time, but overall my faith, it was stronger than my fear. And so I did have success eventually. Sometimes I did have a lot of failure too, but we learn through failure to get to success. Finally, pattern recognition, right? The ADHD brain excels at spotting connections that others miss. You might struggle with minor details, but you're likely exceptional at seeing the big picture and identifying trends and opportunities before they become obvious to everyone else. I mean, I've been told by so many people, you're almost like prophetic. It's like you just see the bigger picture. You see, you called this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, things that are happening right now. And I'm like, it's the way I think our brains are wired. We just see the bigger picture. We see where something's going. We see agendas. Okay. We just get it. Whereas some other people, for whatever reason, and not to talk bad or down upon anybody else, but neurotypical people can't really do that for some reason. I don't know what that's caused from. It's just how I've noticed that we're wired. And it can be very exhausting at times, because it's like you see so far past everything, and you're just like, you're already there in the future, and everyone else is kind of like back here, like still trying to figure out step, 2. And like, oh, what's going on? It's like, dude, I already saw like 10 steps ahead, So don't be down on people though, because it can be a thorn in our side to have the spastic energy, and whereas a neurodivergent person can typically stay, go to step A, B, C, D. So let me share a quick example. In school, for example, in my grade school years, I was not a good student. I just thought it was dumb, and I got criticized by my math teacher in high school. I was actually a lead in the High School Musical, and it was my life. I lived for theater. We had the most amazing theater teacher at the time, and we won state like every year. She was an amazing teacher and coach. And so my math teacher basically told me that I'm distracted. He didn't say I'm dumb. I mean, he wasn't that mean, but he basically gave me an ultimatum that if I didn't quit theater and focus on math, then I was going to flunk out of math. And so that was the only class I'd ever flunked. But I went and asked my school counselor if I could fail that class and still graduate. And she said, I wish I could say no, but yes, you can. So I knew at that moment that I wasn't going to focus on it, and I was going to focus on theater, and I did an excellent job. And because I was so obsessed with acting and singing, and that I was very good at that. So my point is, where it's a failure in one area, it's a massive strength. That hyperfocus is that obsession that we have in other areas, like artistic stuff typically. And some people are more that also, especially people who have are more on the spectrum with autism. I've noticed, again, I'm not saying all of them, but they tend to be very skilled in one area, like for example, they can be master musicians, things that have to do with math. Actually, that's what's interesting to me. I don't think I'm autistic. So, and I do not like to mess with math. So, but yeah, it was a great benefit to me in theater, in music, but it was an absolute, it affected me negatively with the math side of that. So unbeknownst to me, I didn't even change my brain. I just changed the environment and kept focus on the thing that I was going to be able to use my natural strengths. So here's your action step for today. I want you to identify one ADHD trait that you've been viewing as a weakness, and I write down how it might actually be a strength in your business. Maybe it's your ability to hyperfocus, your creative thinking, your willingness to take risks, or something else entirely. Take the trait and actively look for ways to leverage it this week, okay? Instead of fighting against it. So next time we're going to tackle time blindness and how to create a simple schedule that actually works for your ADHD brain. Hit subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss it, and let me know in the comments which ADHD trait you're reclaiming as a strength today, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.